You're not going to believe what just happened backstage, and I mean that literally because this is one of those moments that redefines everything you thought you knew about WWE's power dynamics. Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate himself, just put Logan Paul in his place in a way that was so brutal, so necessary, and so long overdue that the entire wrestling world is talking about it right now. And here's what makes me absolutely livid: Logan Paul has been walking around WWE like he owns the place, disrespecting legends, acting like his social media following makes him untouchable, treating this business like it's just another platform for his brand, and WWE management has been letting it happen because they're obsessed with mainstream attention and celebrity crossover appeal. But Brock Lesnar doesn't care about any of that corporate nonsense. He doesn't care about YouTube subscribers or Instagram followers, and what he did to Logan Paul backstage is exactly what needed to happen months ago. Stick with me because I'm going to break down exactly what went down, why this confrontation was inevitable, why fans are absolutely loving Brock for standing up to Paul's arrogance, and why this might be the most important backstage moment in WWE this entire year. Trust me, by the time I'm done explaining the full context and implications of this situation, you're going to understand why this isn't just about two guys having a disagreement, it's about protecting the integrity of professional wrestling itself. Let me set the stage properly because understanding why this confrontation matters requires knowing the full backstory of Logan Paul's time in WWE and how it's been received by people who actually care about wrestling. Logan Paul signed with WWE and immediately got opportunities that most wrestlers spend decades working toward. He got premium live event matches, he got storylines with top stars, he got a championship reign, and through all of it he's maintained this attitude that suggests he thinks he's doing WWE a favor by being there rather than recognizing that WWE gave him a platform and credibility that he never earned through the traditional path. Now don't get me wrong, Logan Paul is athletic, he's clearly put work into learning how to work in the ring, and some of his matches have been surprisingly good. But there's a massive difference between being able to perform moves and understanding the culture, respecting the business, and conducting yourself in a way that honors the people who built this industry long before social media existed. The issues with Logan Paul's behavior backstage have been building for months according to multiple sources I've spoken with who work in WWE. He's been late to shows, he's skipped training sessions, he's been dismissive toward agents and producers who try to work with him on match layouts, and most importantly he's been disrespectful toward veteran wrestlers who've tried to give him advice or help him improve. That last part is what really gets under people's skin because in wrestling there's a code, an understanding that you respect the people who came before you listen when veterans speak, and you conduct yourself with humility regardless of whatever fame you had before entering the business. Logan Paul apparently missed that memo or decided it doesn't apply to him because he's a celebrity influencer with millions of followers. That arrogance has been rubbing people the wrong way for a long time, and it was only a matter of time before someone checked him on it. Enter Brock Lesnar, a man who gives absolutely zero consideration to celebrity status, social media clout, or corporate politics. Brock Lesnar is old school in the best possible way. He's a legitimate athlete, a former UFC heavyweight champion, an NCAA wrestling champion, someone who's proven himself in actual combat sports before ever setting foot in a WWE ring. He's also someone who's been in the wrestling business long enough to understand its culture and traditions, who respects the history even as he's written his own chapters in it, and who has the credibility and the physical presence to say whatever he wants to whoever he wants without fear of consequences. So when Brock Lesnar heard about Logan Paul's behavior, when he witnessed it firsthand, when he decided that someone needed to address it, Logan Paul probably should have been terrified instead of continuing to act like he was untouchable. Here's what actually happened backstage, and I'm getting this from multiple people who were present or who heard about it immediately afterward from people who were there. Logan Paul was in catering, holding court with some of his entourage and some of the younger wrestlers who were starstruck by his celebrity, and apparently he was running his mouth about how easy wrestling is compared to other things he's done, how he could be world champion whenever he wants because the matches are predetermined anyway, just generally being dismissive of the business and the people in it. Now any veteran wrestler hearing that kind of talk is going to have a problem with it, but most of them would probably just shake their head and walk away or maybe say something to Logan privately later. But Brock Lesnar isn't most veterans, and he doesn't believe in letting disrespect slide just to keep the peace or maintain a friendly backstage atmosphere. Brock walked right up to Logan Paul's table, and according to witnesses the energy in the room immediately changed. Everyone got quiet, everyone could sense that something was about to happen, and the people who know Brock's reputation understood that Logan Paul was about to get a reality check. Brock didn't yell, didn't make a big scene, didn't try to turn it into a spectacle. He just leaned in close to Logan and said something that nobody else could hear but that clearly had an impact because Logan's whole demeanor changed instantly. The cocky smile disappeared, the confident body language collapsed, and suddenly Logan Paul looked like exactly what he is, a YouTuber playing wrestler who just got reminded that he's in a room full of actual fighters who could hurt him badly if they wanted to. After Brock said whatever he said, there was this moment where everyone thought Logan might respond, might try to save face or push back, but he didn't. He just nodded, kept his mouth shut, and let Brock walk away. Now I've heard from several sources about what Brock actually said to Logan, and while I can't confirm the exact words, the general message was clear. Brock reminded Logan that wrestling is a real business with real consequences, that the people in that locker room have dedicated their lives to this craft and deserve respect, that Logan's celebrity status means nothing inside a wrestling ring, and that if Logan wants to continue being part of WWE he needs to change his attitude immediately. Brock also apparently made it very clear that if Logan ever disrespected the business or the people in it again within Brock's hearing, there would be physical consequences that no amount of social media followers could protect him from. It was a threat, but it was also a teaching moment, and from what I understand Logan Paul got the message loud and clear. The reaction from other wrestlers who witnessed this or heard about it has been overwhelmingly positive. Finally, someone with the credibility and the guts to say what everyone else has been thinking. Finally, someone willing to check Logan Paul's attitude before it got even worse. Finally, a reminder that WWE is still a wrestling company at its core, not just a celebrity showcase or a platform for influencers to boost their brands. Wrestlers who've been in the business for years, who've worked independent shows for tiny crowds, who've sacrificed their bodies and their personal lives to pursue this dream, they've been frustrated watching Logan Paul waltz in and get opportunities they'll never have. So seeing someone like Brock Lesnar stand up for the culture and the traditions of wrestling, that resonated deeply with a lot of people backstage. But here's where this situation gets really interesting and where it connects to larger issues within WWE right now. The company has been increasingly focused on celebrity involvement and mainstream crossover appeal. They want athletes from other sports, they want social media influencers, they want anyone with name recognition who might bring in new fans or generate media coverage. That's not necessarily a bad strategy from a business perspective, but it becomes problematic when those celebrities get preferential treatment and aren't held to the same standards as everyone else. Logan Paul is the perfect example of this. He's been given opportunities and forgiveness for behavior that would get a regular roster member in serious trouble. He's been protected by management because they view him as valuable for publicity and for reaching younger demographics. And that creates a two-tier system where the rules apply differently depending on your status outside of wrestling. Brock Lesnar challenging that system, even in a small way, even just in one backstage confrontation, is significant because it shows that not everyone is willing to go along with WWE's celebrity obsession at the expense of the locker room culture. Brock doesn't need WWE the way most wrestlers do. He's made his money, he's accomplished everything there is to accomplish, he could walk away tomorrow and be completely fine. That independence gives him the freedom to speak truth to power, to check people who need checking, and to stand up for principles even when it might create tension with management. Most wrestlers can't do that because they need their job, they need their paycheck, they can't risk getting on management's bad side by confronting someone like Logan Paul who the company views as important. Brock doesn't have those concerns, which makes him uniquely positioned to be the voice of the locker room. The fan reaction to this story has been fascinating to watch unfold. On social media, on wrestling forums, in YouTube comments, fans are almost universally praising Brock Lesnar for what he did. People are calling him a hero, saying he did what needed to be done, expressing hope that this will humble Logan Paul and make him a better performer and a better locker room presence going forward. There's this sense of satisfaction that Logan Paul finally faced consequences for his attitude, that someone finally told him the truth instead of enabling his behavior or looking the other way because of his celebrity status. Fans are also appreciating Brock for being willing to protect the integrity of wrestling even when it would have been easier to just ignore the situation and focus on his own career. Now let's talk about Logan Paul's perspective for a moment because it's worth considering how he might view this situation and whether he'll actually change his behavior going forward. From Logan's point of view, he probably feels like he's worked hard to become a competent wrestler, that his matches have been well received, that he brings value to WWE through his mainstream appeal and his ability to generate interest from people who don't normally watch wrestling. All of that is true to varying degrees. But what Logan seems to be missing is that working hard and having athletic ability isn't enough. You also have to respect the culture, understand the history, and conduct yourself in a way that shows you appreciate the opportunity you've been given. Getting confronted by Brock Lesnar might be exactly what Logan needed to realize, that his attitude has been a problem, that he can't coast on celebrity forever, and that if he wants to be truly accepted and respected in wrestling he needs to make some changes. The question now is whether this confrontation will actually lead to lasting change or if it was just a temporary embarrassment that Logan will eventually forget about once he's back in his comfort zone surrounded by yes men and people who treat him like a star. My hope is that Logan takes this seriously, that he uses it as a wake-up call, that he makes a genuine effort to be more respectful and humble going forward. Wrestling fans can be forgiving if they see authentic growth and effort. If Logan Paul shows that he's learned from this experience, if he starts carrying himself differently backstage, if he shows more respect to veterans and more appreciation for the business, fans will notice and they'll give him credit for it. But if he goes back to his old ways, if he treats this as just another piece of drama that doesn't really matter, then he'll continue to have problems with the locker room and his reputation will suffer permanently. What makes this situation particularly interesting is the power dynamic between Brock Lesnar and WWE management. Brock has leverage that very few wrestlers have. He's a proven draw who can command huge money and who has options outside of wrestling if WWE doesn't meet his demands. That means when Brock does something like confront Logan Paul, even if management might not love it because they want to protect their celebrity investment, they're not going to punish Brock for it. They can't afford to alienate him, can't risk him leaving or being unhappy, so they essentially have to accept that Brock is going to do what Brock is going to do. That's probably frustrating for executives who want complete control over how talent interacts and who would prefer that these issues get handled through official channels rather than through direct confrontations. But it's also healthy for the locker room to have someone like Brock who's willing to enforce standards and maintain order when management won't. There's also speculation about whether this confrontation was entirely spontaneous or if there was some level of encouragement from other veterans who wanted Logan Paul addressed but didn't want to do it themselves. It's possible that other wrestlers expressed their frustrations to Brock, knowing that he would be willing and able to say something where they couldn't. It's possible that this was a coordinated effort to send Logan a message, using Brock as the messenger because his physical presence and credibility make it impossible to dismiss or ignore what he says. That kind of political maneuvering happens all the time in wrestling locker rooms, where wrestlers use intermediaries or work behind the scenes to address issues without directly confronting people themselves. Whether this was spontaneous or coordinated, the result is the same: Logan Paul got checked, and now everyone's waiting to see how he responds. The broader implications of this situation extend beyond just Logan Paul and Brock Lesnar. This confrontation represents a tension that exists throughout WWE right now between traditional wrestling culture and the company's push toward mainstream acceptance and celebrity involvement. On one side you have wrestlers who view this as a sacred business with traditions and codes of conduct that should be respected and preserved. On the other side you have executives who see wrestling as entertainment content that needs to evolve and adapt to reach new audiences, even if that means bringing in celebrities who don't come from traditional wrestling backgrounds. Both perspectives have merit, both sides want WWE to succeed, but they disagree about the best path forward and about what should be sacrificed or preserved in pursuit of that success. Brock Lesnar standing up for traditional wrestling culture doesn't mean he's against evolution or change, it means he believes there are certain fundamental values that shouldn't be compromised regardless of business strategies. Respect for veterans, appreciation for the history, humility about your place in the business, these aren't outdated concepts that need to be discarded, they're essential elements that maintain cohesion and morale within the locker room. When those values get abandoned in pursuit of quick publicity or mainstream attention, when celebrities get special treatment that undermines the meritocracy that's supposed to exist in competitive athletics, it creates resentment and division that ultimately hurts the product. That's what Brock was fighting against when he confronted Logan Paul, not Logan specifically but what Logan represents and the dangerous precedent of letting celebrity status excuse bad behavior. It's worth noting that this isn't the first time Brock Lesnar has served as an enforcer of locker room culture. Throughout his career, there have been multiple instances where Brock has confronted people he felt were disrespecting the business or conducting themselves inappropriately. He's earned a reputation as someone who doesn't tolerate nonsense, who will speak his mind regardless of political considerations, and who backs up his words with legitimate toughness that makes people think twice before dismissing what he says. That reputation is valuable for WWE even if management doesn't always appreciate it, because it means there's someone in that locker room who maintains standards and keeps people accountable when official leadership either can't or won't. The timing of this confrontation is also interesting when you consider what's happening in WWE right now. The company is heading into WrestleMania season, the most important time of year when they need everyone focused and professional and working together to deliver the best possible product. Having backstage drama and tension over Logan Paul's attitude would be a distraction that nobody needs. By addressing it now, by having someone like Brock Lesnar set Logan straight before things escalated further, WWE potentially avoided bigger problems down the line. It's better to have one uncomfortable confrontation that resolves the issue than to let resentment build until it explodes into something more serious that affects television or causes wrestlers to refuse to work with Logan. Looking at Logan Paul's matches and performances since joining WWE, you can see moments where his inexperience and his attitude have created problems. There have been spots that didn't work because Logan didn't listen to agents about timing. There have been promos that fell flat because Logan's trying to be himself rather than creating a character that fits in the wrestling world. There have been interactions with other wrestlers where the chemistry was off because Logan doesn't understand wrestling psychology at the level he needs to. None of these are career-ending issues, they're all fixable with more experience and better coaching, but they require Logan to be humble enough to accept criticism and willing enough to put in the work to improve. If Brock's confrontation helps Logan develop that humility and that work ethic, then everyone benefits, including Logan himself. The wrestling media has been covering this story extensively, with most analysts agreeing that what Brock did was appropriate and necessary. There's recognition that Logan Paul had been getting away with behavior that wouldn't be tolerated from anyone else, that management's protectiveness of their celebrity acquisition had created a situation where the normal mechanisms for maintaining locker room standards weren't functioning, and that someone with Brock's credibility and independence needed to step in. Some commentators have questioned whether this will actually change anything long-term or if it's just a temporary speed bump in Logan's WWE career, but there's consensus that at minimum it was satisfying to see someone hold Logan accountable for his attitude. What happens next will determine whether this becomes a positive turning point in Logan Paul's wrestling career or just an anecdote that gets forgotten while his behavior continues unchanged. If Logan is smart, he'll reach out to veterans, ask for advice on how to conduct himself better, make visible efforts to be more respectful and professional, and let his actions show that he took Brock's message to heart. If he does that, people will notice and appreciate it, and over time the negative perception of him will shift. But if he's defensive, if he complains about being disrespected, if he goes back to acting like wrestling is beneath him or like he's special because he's a YouTuber, then he'll cement his reputation as someone who doesn't belong in the business and who will never be truly accepted no matter how many matches he works. So here's the bottom line and what you need to take away from this entire situation. Brock Lesnar confronting Logan Paul backstage wasn't just a random disagreement between two wrestlers, it was a statement about values and standards and what kind of culture WWE should have in its locker room. Logan Paul needed to be checked, his attitude and behavior had been a problem for months, and someone with the credibility and the courage to speak truth needed to address it before it got worse. Brock Lesnar was that person, and what he did has been universally praised by fans and by other wrestlers who've been frustrated with Logan's conduct but haven't been in a position to do anything about it. This confrontation could be the wake-up call that Logan Paul needs to become not just a better performer but a better professional who actually respects the business he's chosen to be part of. Or it could be a temporary embarrassment that doesn't lead to any real change, in which case Logan will continue to have problems and will eventually wear out his welcome in WWE regardless of his celebrity status. Time will tell which path he chooses, but for now fans are celebrating the fact that someone finally stood up for wrestling culture, someone finally told Logan Paul the truth he needed to hear, and that someone was the perfect person to deliver that message. Brock Lesnar remains one of the most important figures in WWE, not just because of what he does in the ring but because of moments like this where he protects the integrity of the business and reminds everyone involved that wrestling is something to be respected and taken seriously. Let me know in the comments what you think about this situation, whether you believe Logan Paul will change his behavior, and who else in WWE needs someone like Brock to set them straight. Share this video with everyone who needs to understand why this moment matters, and make sure you're subscribed because I'll continue covering this story as it develops.